Good evening, viewers. Pakistan-China relations continue to make headlines in the world, particularly in the West. Led by the United States, many Western countries have been criticizing China for various of its policies, including those being pursued in the western province of Xinjiang. The American President Donald Trump slapped additional tariffs last year on the Chinese exports to the United States as an expression of his displeasure over what he thinks China had been pursuing in the past decades. The American president took this hostility to new levels early this year when he began relating the COVID-19 crisis to China, accusing it of spreading it. China, however, remained undeterred, called for restraint, and has been urging the entire world for reinforcing the cooperation to cope with the pandemic crisis. At the same time, as China successfully came to grips with the COVID crisis, it also has been helping other countries deal with the consequences of the corona crisis. Pakistan is one of those countries which have received hundreds of tons of anti-COVID equipment as well as medical experts' support to help Pakistan cope with the consequences of the corona crisis. This exactly is the subject of our conversation today. We have with us His Excellency Ambassador Yao Jing, who represents People's Republic of China in Pakistan. Together, we will review the current state of Sino-Pakistan relations as well as several challenges that both countries face in the region as well as in the world. Welcome, Ambassador Yao Jing. It's a pleasure to have you here. I would start off this conversation by asking you as to how would you describe the Pakistan-China relations today?
First of all, I'm very honored to have this opportunity to take the interview with Mr. Imtiaz, who is a good friend of mine for quite a long time. And thank you for your concern and also for your attention for the Sino-Pak friendship and the partnership. I would like to elaborate a little about this relationship. This relationship, first, is unique for China. I think that this relationship has started for over the past almost 70 years. This relationship is stable. This relationship is progressive. This relationship is mutually beneficial. It is unique for China because China has a lot of neighbors. But Pakistan is the most friendly neighbor of China's. Pakistan is the closest partner of China as far as China's regional initiatives are concerned. This relationship, I'm also thinking about it, counts on the efforts from the both sides. But there are some fundamental principles which I think both China and Pakistan have been observing and implementing in a very firm manner. For example, that mutual respect. We never intervene the domestic affairs of each other. We never challenge whatever kind of intentions or whatever kind of proposals from both sides, because we believe that both the countries and both the nations are working for the benefit of one another. Another, for example, our mutual support, that both China and Pakistan are developing countries. For the past 7 decades, I think both of us are faced with a lot of challenges. We see the up and downs of the regional situations, of the global situations, even our own domestic situations. But one thing is very clear. When China is in difficulty, Pakistan is always the most forthcoming, who came to China and give us an important hand. And when Pakistan is in difficulty or faced with challenges, China, without any hesitation, we will come for you. We will come to you. So this is a mutual support. And right now, I think when we say that we enter into a new stage or that new era of the time, right now that we are also implementing another principle of our bilateral relations, that is mutual benefit. We take that the fate of the peoples of the two countries, the nations of the two countries, as the priority. We look after the two governments, the two countries, look after their respective peoples and the nations' welfare. So under this kind of people first principles, both countries conducted mutually beneficial cooperation. CPEC is just a part of that. We have a lot of other cooperations in different areas. We know the sensitivities of each other. We know the priorities of each other. And we know that the purposes of the countries, of the two countries from our both. So we have total confidence with each other, and we have absolute trust with each other. This is the fundamental, and this is, I think, what should be envied by other countries. So that is also the reason for China. We always say that this Sino-Pak relationship is a model for the nations with different histories, backgrounds, with the different social systems, even we have the different value systems. But when we put that the welfare of the people as a priority, I think all the other differences could be dealt with on the basis of mutual respect and mutual support. It is also an honor for China. The new China, People's Republic of China, was founded, I think, 1949. And we have a very complicated surrounding environment. But one thing is very clear, that Sino-Pak relationship is a flag of new China's diplomacy. When we are conducting that our relations with all the neighboring countries, that the relationship with Pakistan is always a model, is a kind of leading model for China to follow. And I also want to appreciate that the successive Pakistani leaderships, the successive Pakistani governments, and all the people for your understanding and the support of this relationship. Tomorrow it will be your Independence Day, and Pakistan has been independent for 73 years. So this exactly is the good occasion for us to review and also that to expect more from this relationship.
Ambassador, what has changed in the bilateral relations in the last 3-4 decades? Are we talking of something new, a new era, particularly since 2015 when President Xi Jinping visited Pakistan?
Yes, of course. I think that taking into the current very complicated background of the international situation, and also that there are some kind of practice of unilateralism, of taking one country's interest above others, or there are some self-interest conducted by other countries. And you can witness some countries are putting their own agenda on the international relations. Some countries are putting their own interest beyond or above other countries or the community's interest. So that, and against this kind of background, the Sino-Pak relationship, like the BRI, is just a part of that. But even this relationship, our cooperation, came under a kind of pressure or suspicion, or I think even sabotaging. I think this is natural. But what is more important, which I'm witnessing or I am experiencing, is that both China and Pakistan have the fundamental confidence on this relationship. We don't challenge each other. We don't suspect each other. We always take each other's concerns or each other's sensitivities as our own. So when these two countries, the main participants of this relationship, when we are easy, when we are convenient, when we are confident with each other, I don't think that all these kind of external disturbance will create any problems with our bilateral relationship.
Ambassador, does the current geopolitical situation represent difficult challenges for Pakistan as well as for China? And how do we jointly cope with those pressures?
Yeah, I think that, I totally agree with you. This year of 2020 is very special. And when you figured out this year, and if you put that Sino-Pak relationship under this kind of background, we can see that a lot of new developments, a lot of new elements emerge from this special background. First of all, let me say that this year is special for Sino-Pak relations. First, we have the common challenges. Of course, China was with this challenge a bit earlier than any country else, including Pakistan. We had this COVID-19 in January, and we had this lockdown for the past, at that time, for almost 3 months. But later on, this pandemic spread even to the other countries, Pakistan included. So this COVID-19, or this unprecedented challenge, posed a threat to all the countries. But one thing, I think, with the resilience, with the efforts by China and Pakistan, right now we see a quite good improvement of this virus situation. China right now, we only have a sporadic cases of the virus, and in Pakistan we see a dramatical and even an amazing achievement by your government and the people. So this relationship, what kind of this 2020, what kind of meaning, or what kind of special meaning this year for them? First, that this means, it seems to me, is that when China and Pakistan, we are united, when China and Pakistan stand together, when China and Pakistan could cooperate with each other, whatever kind of challenges, they don't matter. We can finally come out. So I have to, once again, that appreciate that when China was faced with this COVID-19, as early as January and February, it was Pakistan who came first to give us the assistance. It was Pakistan who came first to show the solidarity and support to the Chinese government people. It was Pakistan who offered whatever assistance that you could give for us. And of course, that we got a lot from you. Your president's visit in March to China, I think that this is a very strong demonstration of your confidence and the solidarity to the Chinese people. Prime Minister Imran Khan's telephone call in February with our president, they discussed a lot on the controlling and on the prevention of this virus, and they even said that what kind of we can cooperate under that. Your first donation on the 1st of February, I think that is the first, among the first, which China received as that. And later on, that when Pakistan also faced with this challenge, I think the Chinese government and the Chinese people also extend maximum support and assistance. Just this morning, I went to the airport along with the chairman of NDMA. We just received this another 1,000 ventilators donated by the Chinese government. But fortunately, that with your own efforts, the situation is well controlled. Things are moving in a very encouraging directions. So this year, 2020, it means that when China and Pakistan, when we support each other, when we cooperate with each other, whatever difficulties, whatever challenges, we always can overcome them. We can always come out of this challenge with a stronger relationship. That is the partnership between China and Pakistan. However, that some other countries, you mentioned the United States, they are also faced with a very challenging situation of the COVID-19. However, that they could not maybe they could not manage this situation quite well. However, that they shift the blame to the other countries, in particular China. So right now, I think China is figured out as a kind of someone responsible for their own failure in dealing with these challenges. So you can see this is very unfair that this kind of pandemic is an international challenge. This is a pandemic which is unprecedented, even in the history of the mankind. Everyone is trying its best to deal with it, to control with it. Under this kind of circumstances, China always stands for unity and cooperation. A superpower like the United States, I think they can contribute most for this kind of leadership, for this kind of international cooperation. But unfortunately, they are figuring out China as a scapegoat. So we hope that under this kind of situation, other countries could also do like China and Pakistan do. We cooperate, we show mutual understanding, we give solidarity to each other, and we cooperate. So that is our position, that under this kind of global challenge, unity and cooperation is the only way out, However, that as far as China and Pakistan is concerned, these negative policies from some Western countries, or especially the United States, they don't affect our relationship with Pakistan. I think that both China and Pakistan showed very strong commitment for the development. But of course, I think China and Pakistan will also contribute other countries' fight against coronavirus. For example, you are also extending some kind of support even to the United States, American people. They are also suffering. China has also done its best, its most, that to help and facilitate that the American people's fight against this coronavirus. So we hope that the whole international community, in particular, like the United States as the superpower, the only superpower, that they can also show the responsibility that in helping that the global community, the world, to come out of this kind of challenge.
And Ambassador, obviously we cannot escape the mention of year 2020. It has been astronomical in various respects. So can you please comment on what this year has meant for China itself, particularly the war on tariffs that President Trump mounted on China, as well as the corona crisis itself?
I think that this is, something which I think we are totally rejecting, this kind of blind blame, or that this kind of groundless allegation against our economic cooperation with Pakistan. We did witness some of the high officials of the U.S. administration. They are claiming that it is a death trap, like the Belt and Road Initiative, or more specifically CPEC with Pakistan. But I think that once and again, we have given them this kind of figures, this kind of facts to them. So always I say that let the facts speak, and the truth should prevail. For example, regarding our bilateral loans arrangement, my understanding that our figures under the CPEC, we provide these loans about $6 billion, and that only account about 5.22% of your whole international debt. And the repayment period of all these Chinese loans is about 20 to 25 years. So this is no any kind of pressure on Pakistan, let alone that between China and Pakistan, we will never pressurize Pakistan to repay whatever kind of loans when you are in difficulty. There is a similar, I think, statement by your government by your foreign ministry that the total public debt relating to the CPEC is less than 10%. And the interest rate average is about 2.3%. And this is one aspect. Second, that in fact the biggest creditor for Pakistan still is the Western countries and the international financial institutions like Paris Club, like the IMF, or like the World Bank. China, their loans occupy about 47% of your international obligations. Second, these loans, I think with this kind of propaganda, they are giving a very bad name to the loans. If you look at the word, who borrowed most? Who borrowed the most? It was the United States, because an advanced economy, they need a lot of capital to that. So they borrowed most. They have a huge debt to the international community as well as their domestic. But I want to make it clear that this loan is not a bad thing. This loan is just a normal practice in international economic cooperation. Capital is the key for us to mobilize the economic activities. But we have to see this loan, how these loans have been used, distributed. In China, we call it, if the loan is an effective loan, then this loan should be welcome. For example, I say all these loans under the CPEC, they are not go to for your import. They are not go to for your consumption. These loans has been converted, has been changed into the power plants, into the motorways, into the port, into the joint ventures, into the manufacturing sector. So they are generating more values. They are generating more treasury and assets for your whole economy. So we call this efficient loans is a normal practice. It is not a kind of burden. Of course, that when these loans come to Pakistan, that for the long term, you have to take it into your account to repayment and this. But we believe when these loans are efficiently used, when the economic activities are efficiently mobilized, when the whole economic situation is stimulated by this kind of capital and the loans input, they definitely will contribute for your overall economic development. And for the long term, there won't be less burden on your economy or on your. And thirdly, I think the United States they were claiming that they prefer more about this grant aid, and I think that China, of course, provided a lot of aid also to Pakistan. But this aid project is also depends on their efficiency. If the aid or the grant is used also for the mobilization or for the addition of your economic activities, this kind of aid is more valuable, is more has more utilities. So, for example, that right now, what is our aid going to Pakistan? For example, we are going to go to the social sector, poverty alleviation, vocational training center, and health sector for these kind of things. So I think that China is also, for as far as our collaboration with Pakistan is concerned, China is using all these possible instruments that for the activities, economic activities of Pakistan. And I think your government, your different ministries, they know better than I think everyone, in particular those people who are accusing us, that they are better one for us to dealing with these challenges.
Ambassador, there has been a lot of talk of Chinese debt trap for Pakistan, and there's been a lot of speculation led by the United States officials. Most Western media has also been talking of Pakistan's indebtedness, that the mounting debt Pakistan is accumulating under CPEC. How would you respond to this Western propaganda?
Yes, I think that this China's conducting of this cooperation, like the CPEC and other Belt and Road Initiative projects, we use these loans, or we call the preferential loans or concessional loans. We have a principle. First, it is decided by the mutual sides. It is consulted by mutual sides. We never impose say that you use this loan or whatever. This financial model, if you can afford it, definitely we won't use this. If you are short of the capital, we will use. But what is the term? What is the, for example, interest rate? What is the repayment? We have a total consultation. And definitely during this consultation, we take all the aspects of your repayment, of your interest repayment, every element into account. So this is a quite thorough consultation procedures, which were joined by even third-party consultancies and this. Second, our loans are project-based. We are not offer, for example, offer a kind of figure. There was some talking about $60 billion and this. No, this is, I think, something I think is only for the media consumption. We don't. We have this kind of loan is firmly based on the project. For example, for a motorway. For example, for a power plant. For example, for a certain construction, whatever infrastructure project. We will analyze the cost. We will analyze the future economic delivery outcome of this project. We will discuss that your overall economic or fiscal burdens or fiscal situations. Then we will decide what kind of this kind of financial package. For example, right now, the next biggest infrastructure project is railway mainland one, ML1. According to right now the stage that, for example, we have this project of $6.8 billion estimate of the whole cost. But if right now we put such a kind of big loans or this kind of financial package, I don't think even for China it is beyond our capacity. So in fact, we are discussing with your government, we will put it into 3 or 4 stages, 4 packages, one by one, within your capacity, within our capacity. Then we do it and in a proper. But this financial negotiation takes quite a long time. So that is why we say that when this project starts, the next stage, we are going to negotiate for a proper financial package. And it takes maybe months to finalize because a lot of aspects should be taken into consideration. So this kind of funding and this kind of loans should be the least reason for anyone want to blame this. And for example, when I first came about 3 years ago to Pakistan, everybody talking that it's too much loans and there's a heavy burden. But I say that if you check your balance sheet, check your this kind of your fiscal sheet, so that where is the repayment for China right now for the foreseeable future? I don't see that you have any kind of burden. But what we expect more is that those projects, those contracts, using these loans, using these kind of funds, should be effectively mobilized and utilized as the very relevant and also valuable economic instrument for your global economy. So I think that, for example, these power plants, for the past almost half a year, when you are fighting against this COVID-19, these CPEC power plants, they are contributing 1/3 of your whole electricity supply. So this is a very much, I should say, a good example that this kind of funding or these kind of loans are contributing your economic activities. They can help you to have a more other economic development. And this kind of way, these loans are useful, are efficient, and are valuable.
Ambassador, lastly, I would like to ask you, what are the most pressing challenges and pressures that both countries are facing together because of the Belt and Road Initiative, as well as because of the CPAC, which they see as something, a special favor to Pakistan?
Yes, I think that this is very relevant because as far as the geopolitics is concerned, that a lot of these kind of disturbing elements, they are emerging. They are posing threat. They are posing difficulties for China. They are also posing that the threats or posing that this kind of disturbing elements to the region as well as to the world. I think that geopolitics is a integral part of any state-to-state relations. So this kind of challenges, this kind of disturbance are always there, For China, we are facing this kind of disturbance in the global and also in a lot of sectorial or a lot of areas. And so China right now is facing a lot of, I should say, pressures or face a lot of disturbances from the United States. They are blaming China on everything, our technology, our companies, our economic activities, our even behavior pattern, even our system, which I think that is unnecessary and it's a disturbance for the global international system in the system. For Pakistan, I think also, as far as I know, that this region, South Asia, is far away from peace and stability. Yeah, we have the challenges like Kashmir. Yeah, it is an unfinished agenda in the international community. We have the challenges of the international terrorism, and we also have this challenge of the Afghanistan's warring situation. But fortunately, some things are happening in Afghanistan. Peace process will start maybe very soon with the efforts of the Afghan people as well as with the other partners, and hope that. So this kind of challenges are always there. And this relationship between China and Pakistan, naturally, it could be affected or kind of influence of these challenges. What I want to say is that China and Pakistan, we ourselves, our two countries, we should have a proper understanding of this kind of challenge. For example, as far as China is concerned, we have full confidence of Pakistan's foreign policy or geopolitical initiatives. For example, your efforts to improve the relations with India, your efforts to bring the peace for Afghanistan, your efforts to create a good neighborhood and the connectivity to the whole region. I think that for China, we fully understand and fully support this. And we would love to see that Pakistan playing a leading role in this regional peace and development. Second, from Pakistan's point of view, when China was fighting against this propaganda, for example, in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Xinjiang, South China Seas, but we see that Pakistan understands China. You know our policy, you know our initiatives, you know our practice of the diplomacy on this. So sometimes that we found that it is very, very valuable support, our understanding from Pakistan. So that is the value of this relationship. And also, I think one fundamental, fundamental similarities between China and Pakistan is that we never have any kind of geopolitical ambition beyond our own jurisdiction, beyond our own territory. I think that Pakistan is never trying to have a kind of there's any kind of ambition beyond you. China, no. China, we have a huge population. we have a very unbalanced domestic development. So we desperately want to see a peaceful neighborhood, a peaceful world for us to focus on economic cooperation, focus on the social welfare. And I think Pakistan is also the same. But unfortunately, some countries, unfortunately, some sectors, they don't want to see that this kind of peaceful development for China, for Pakistan, for this region. They always have their own geopolitical agendas, which go beyond that what we are trying to achieve, peace and stability. So I think that this kind of political challenges, political disturbances are always there. But first, we would like to advocate for a kind of reason, a kind of justice-based practice of international relations. Second, we always advocate that, like China and Pakistan, other countries could also that exert some kind of mutual understanding and mutual. We do have differences, but the key is that we engage each other. The key is that we have dialogue and communication each other. Then we find a proper way. But instead of using these sanctions, using this exclusive unilateralism, or this kind of even bullying these kind of things. So I think that for China and Pakistan, I think that this is the strength of our relationship, that we exert our mutual understanding to each other. I hope that in this world, other powers, other powerful countries or other members of the international community can also exert this kind of reasonable and fair implementation of state-to-state relations to deal with these kind of geopolitical challenges.
Many, many thanks, Ambassador Yao Jing, for this excellent explanation on the current state of Pakistan-China relations, which, as you said, are based on mutual trust, on the principle of non-interference, and which are focused on the welfare of the people of both countries, and that it is an unparalleled relationship on the globe, which is the envy of many other countries. Viewers, with that, I would say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for watching this exclusive interview with the Chinese ambassador, Mr. Yao Jing.